Hello, and a big welcome back to all my subscribers. And if you're not a subscriber, why not? Today, I want to do another deep dive into one of the statements in C, which is the switch case statement. Now, the switch case statement, the basic syntax is um, a switch, and typically these are integers that you're going to switch on, and then the case when it is that value. So switch, and the expression is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then it evaluates this, and then does the comparison, and then executes the corresponding block of code. And the break is there to tell when to stop with this block of code, and it's pretty essential to have the break statement. Now, typically the purpose of the switch case is it's much more readable than just a whole string of nested if else, if else, if else, if else statements. And also, because the compiler can work out the switches, it can tend to make jumps faster. So, switch case statements can be faster in code execution when you compare them if else's for most compilers. So most use cases, typically a use case for a switch case is a menu selection. Very frequently, menu-driven programs use this to handle user input. So it's very, very good at that sort of thing. Another common use case is state machines. So it's used to implement a state machine so that your program's behavior goes through based on the current state. Red light, green light, amber light, or whatever your current state is in your machine. Start or processing or finished here in the example. So it's very, very useful for state machines. Now, one of the problems and cautions and pitfalls you might have, and I mentioned this earlier, with a switch case statement is if you forget to put the break in. Because the break statement tells it where the code block ends. And as you can see in this example, the case for Tuesday bleeds into Wednesday because you didn't end the block of code with a break statement. So it's always very important for you to go through your switch cases and make sure that you have an appropriate break statement in the correct place. Now, some tips and tricks for this is to do the exact opposite of what I just said. But if you do this intentionally, in other words, you have an intentional fall through, what you do is you just leave out the break statement and it falls through. So here in the example above, you can see on grades, it doesn't matter whether it's A, B, or C. If you leave A and B empty, and no break statements, it'll go into C, and then you can just do the code required for all three. And the next one below, D's and F, you can do the code that applies to those two. Now, one thing that we've missed in many of these examples is the default case. And you should always have a default case to handle unexpected problems, or at least provide, even if it's just an error message or some form of error handling, you should always try and provide a default case to the switch statement so that it will just do that if it can't figure out anything else. Now, some newer compilers have extensions for different ranges and patterns, and some will even do strings, because traditionally a switch statement only works for integers and characters are integers. But nowadays, some of the newer compilers allow you to use strings, and you can use the switch statement and nest it inside other loop or conditional statements like a for loop. So you can do a for loop through one value and then switch on, a combination of, for example, value A and B. So if you're looping through A integers and it matches A and B, you do one case. If it matches, A and C, do a different case, that sort of thing. So you can get much more complex logic if you're nesting them. And you can also sort of nest case statements in with each other as well. So that's it for today. Hopefully you like this sort of thing. If you do, please like and subscribe and all that good stuff. And I will see you later.